There's no better feeling than a personal win, and the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you do just that. Talk to a State Farm agent today to learn how you can bundle and save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Achieve clean, healthy-looking skin with Youth to the People. The 20-time award-winning superfood cleanser gently deep cleanses and removes makeup and SPF in 30 seconds. For skin that's hydrated, balanced, and soothed, never stripped. It's the green juice cleanse for your face, formulated with good-for-you antioxidants like kale, spinach, and multivitamins to respect your barrier. No disruption. Find out why one cleanser is sold every minute in the U.S. Shop now at Sephora.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
So attention cricket clubs and cricketing family, are you ready to step up to the crease and make a long-lasting impact on your club's legacy? Listen up, we've got something special for you. Introducing Fund It Now, the revolutionary fundraising platform that's changing the game for cricket clubs everywhere. With Fund It Now, clubs of all sizes can create a lasting legacy by selling personalised plaques to their passionate members, supporters and cricket club family.
That's right, Livo. Fund It Now has already left its mark on some of cricket's most iconic venues like Lords, the home of cricket, Somerset County Cricket Club, and with projects such as the Father Time Wall and Somerset Legends Wall.
There's the best part, Hugh. There are absolutely no upfront costs. Fundraising has never been more simple or accessible.
Imagine walking around your club's ground or up to the pavilion and seeing a bespoke wall of dedication, celebrating the history of your club and supporting its future with every plaque. It's like your club's very own shrine to the sport we all love.
And getting involved couldn't be easier. Simply visit Fund It Now's website at funditnow.co.uk to get started today, or drop them an email at info@funditnow.co.uk to learn more. It's time to rally your supporters and start raising money like never before. And don't forget to tell them you heard it from us at the Premier League Cricket Show.
So what are you waiting for? Join the ranks of clubs and grounds like Somerset County Cricket Club and Lords and make your mark on cricket history.
Visit Fund It Now today and start building your fundraising platform. That's funditnow.co.uk. Fund It Now, where passion meets purpose at your cricket club, and begin creating your own legacy. Right, so welcome everybody to the Premier League Cricket Show. And once again, it's time for one of our Overseas at the Crease specials. So we've had so far a batter in Teague Wiley. We've had a spin bowler, sometimes batter, Peter Hadzoglu. He won't mind me calling him a sometimes batter, I don't think he will. And this time we've now got someone who I'm going to say is definitely a fast bowler, but also a left-hand batter. I'm watching some video this morning, very graceful left-hand, but why are left-handers so graceful? It's just wrong, isn't it, Hugh? It's all wrong, definitely. Joining us today is a gentleman who lots of people, for no fault of his own, will know his surname, but we're not here to talk about his surname. We're here to talk about Thando himself. Welcome, Mr. Thando Ntini. How we doing, mate?
All good, guys. Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolute pleasure. You're down there in Kent, playing for last year's champions, Lordswood. It's your second year in the Kent League. I've got to ask you, was it that good you had to come back?
Yeah, it was really good last year. I absolutely loved my time with Lordswood. An unbelievable bunch of people. I'd say it's just a place that you just always want to go back to if you're inside the environment, you know. Mm. I've actually had a chat with a lot of people of like, why Lordswood? It's like, I understand why people don't like us, because we're very protective of each other, you know, and that's just a type of space and environment you want to be in. And just the people itself are lovely. And we won the league last year, so we decided why not try to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. You had a terrific performance last year. Bat and ball, 292 runs at 26, the top score 79, and then 25 wickets at 21. So you contributed fantastically through the season and crucial opening the bowl in there, winning in the league.
Yeah, some days were good, some days were really terrible. I had a lot of guys that did help me get through the tough days. So that did work. That did help, and I didn't feel the pressure of having to be like overseas where you have to be the guy that does everything. It just allowed me to just enjoy my cricket again, play freely, and have room to make mistakes and learn, without being absolutely nailed for it, And it's just a very comforting space to be in, where you're in a team that allows you to play well, and when you're not playing well, they give you room to learn from those mistakes and just keep improving yourself as a cricketer. So that's why I constantly come back.
Was that your first stint of club cricket in England? Because we've not been able to find anymore, but sometimes they. No,
I was with Canterbury in 2019 for 2 months before I had to fly back home to go play for SA Emerging. But I was with Canterbury in 2019, and then I was away. I didn't come to England for about 3 years, because just first class cricket then and stuff was just really, really busy, and I was on a 3-year contract thingy with the South Africa National Academy, which always takes part in the winters. I dedicate my 3 years to spending my winters playing for South Africa Emerging. And then once my time with them had ended, then I decided to explore and come back to England.
Great. You grew up back in South Africa, obviously, Thando, and you had a nice childhood in terms of the way you were brought up around cricket. But the thing that struck me the most about looking about how you got to where you are as a cricketer today is the schools that you went to and the alumni that come out of those schools. One of the schools you went to, unfortunately for listeners who won't know this, I know South Africa quite well, having travelled there quite a lot on business. And when I saw that you went to Wynberg down south, automatically my head goes Jack Callis. Full stop. It's Jack Callis' school. The pressure coming from a school like that must have been quite intense, though, because it's a top cricketing school, isn't it?
It's a good school. Cricketing standards are really high, and I don't think I was there to play cricket. Yes, and that was my driving force to go to Wynberg Boys. Was to further my cricket and be in an institution as Western Province that I know can take me to new heights, and with all the people and coaches and stuff that facilitate those areas. But Wynberg Boys was a massive wake up call from when I was at Sorbonne College. Yeah, just the standard of cricket, because if you're from a small town, you play against 4 teams that are of good quality with good players. But then when you Cape Town, you've got 15, 16 different schools that you play against that have quality players week in, week out. You've got overseas teams that come into play during the week.
Yeah, they come down to tour around the Cape.
Yes, and you get to train and play and watch county teams that come up and use the facilities at the school. They could ask for guys if they would want to come in and bowl to county players and stuff, and you can come down in your break time and bowl for half an hour before you go back to class, or you just sit and watch and chat. The amount of emphasis and time and structure and planning they put into their cricket is the reason why it produces a lot of cricket players. In the past couple of years, it's produced a lot of cricket players such as Carl Verreynne, David Bedingham, Jason Smith, guys like Matthew Kleinfeld. There's a lot of Wynberg boys in the circuit, and there's been a lot of Wynnum boys that have made their protest debuts or SAA debuts after Jacques Callis, who was the epitome of the school, So it's not just him, where there's loads of guys that come out of the school and they actually do well in the professional setup, and some go on to play for high honours.
Well, I'm going to show my age, because not only was Jacques Callis a hero of mine growing up, but even older than that is a guy who played for England and came out of the same school, Mr. Alan Lamb. And even Hugh will know that name straight away now. And Lammy came over to the UK and played at Northants for many years, and was a phenomenal player. In terms of the list of players who've come out of there, just phenomenal, like you say. But it's interesting hearing how the setup is for us, because it reflects what we see in the schools around the country, that like Repton, doesn't it, Hugh, for local to us, at a huge high level when it comes to schools.
Yeah, I'd be interested, Thando, what's the role of club cricket? Is there, I don't know anything about South African cricket, so what's the role of club cricket compared to schools cricket? How does that work? Is there a crossover, or if you're at a school, is that your cricket club and you don't sort of play club cricket?
No, so when I was in my grade 11 and matric year, I played for about 7 teams. So it would be my school team, my club team, which I play for on the weekends. Then I've got my provincial team, which is as a call your county. And there would be days where I would train or do 12-man duties for the men's team. And then there's my age group, a provincial team, and then there was for SN 19. But for schools cricket, guys, first team players from the various schools do get brought into playing first team club cricket, because it just gives you a window in what it's like to play senior cricket up outside of school. And it does give you the upper hand, where if you're going to play club cricket on the weekend, you're playing with older guys, and you automatically grow a lot faster than you would if you're just playing school cricket. And when you're sharing a changing room and a field with guys who've got X amount of first-class games, some guys are full-time professionals, and you're a school kid in that environment. So you pick up a lot, you learn a lot, and there's a lot of responsibility for you to prove yourself in order for you to stay in the first team, because it's very easy for them to be like, okay, he's a first team schoolboy, he can play seconds and prove himself. So I started in the second team, played a couple of games for the seconds, and then I moved up to the first team, and that's where I played for about a year and a half before I moved to Johannesburg.
And what's the format of club cricket there? Obviously in the grey cricket system in Australia, it's obviously 2-day games over potentially 2 weekends. Majority England obviously is limited overs and some T20. What's the format in South African cricket?
Yeah, so there's 50 over cricket, which is Saturday, but it's red ball stuff. So it's the same as England. And then there's T20 competitions that do happen throughout the season. But there's not much 2-day cricket. And then teams that win the 1-day comp on the Saturdays go up to play something called club champs, where you're going to play the best club team from that specific province in one tournament. And then you have your overall winner of that competition, which is the best club team in the country. So clubs strive for that. They play to win the leagues and play each other to go to that tournament to try and get yourself the status of being the best club in the country.
Yeah, that's it. Dialing back to your sort of provincial stuff when you're a young man, what age does the sort of representative stuff for your province come in? Because obviously in England we've got the county system, and all the counties are basically within 3 or 4 hours drive of each other, and often much closer. It's not quite the same in South Africa. There's some huge distances. So how does the provincial stuff work? Are you spending a lot of time on aeroplanes?
Yes, a lot of time traveling, but it is one home game, one away game. But yeah, it is. There is a lot of traveling, a lot of flying to play games. So it is something you do get used to. It's better than being on a 4-hour bus, to be fair.
Absolutely. And especially as, Thando won't mind me saying this, some South African roads are not the best. The highways are brilliant, but when you get off the highways, it can be a little bit interesting, shall we say, Thando?
100% agree with you there.
Absolutely. But then again, if you check the potholes around this country right now, it's starting to look a little bit like that in a lot of places. Yeah. And I know a lot of our listeners will back me on that straight away.
Oh, such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com's primetime kickoff event. Save up to 50% off select styles, plus doorbusters. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
You've had an upbringing through that school system, Thando, and then made a professional debut quite early in your career. I've got to ask you, leaning on a father who was a fast bowler, was it just built into you that that's what you've got to do first and foremost, be a fast bowler? Because I've watched you bowl, and there's a lot of similarities to your father, but you've absolutely got zero similarities when it comes to your batting, because you're so bloody graceful with your batting, definitely. What was the pressure within the sort of household, shall we call it?
I only started bowling in 2017.
You are kidding.
Yeah, so I only started bowling when I moved to Cape Town in my grade 11 year.
What prompted them to start you bowling? Why did they get you to start bowling?
Yeah, I just wanted to add some extra value some weekends because you can just bat and then you want to get a first bowler and that's your weekend done. You can't really contribute to the team in whatever form. So when I started bowling, I bowled a bit of dirty spin that didn't work. And then I decided
Got to stop. Yeah. How dirty was it?
Oh,
We're talking like
absolute filth. Not offies.
Right arm offie, though.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you didn't go down this slow left arm route.
No. And then I was like, let me just run in a little bit and land it and see what happens. At Selborne, from Selborne Primary to Selborne College, throughout all the age groups, 11, under 12, under 13, under 15, under 17, SA under 17, and throughout all those provincial weeks that you have for the provinces, I always went there as a number 3 batter for Border when I was still in East London. And then when I got to Cape Town, it kind of changed because at the new school I had to find my place in the first team. And I started at the back of the picking order. But as time went on, I went from 10 to 8 to 7 to 6 to 5 to 3, sometimes opening. And by the time my matric year, I was batting 5 for the first team, sometimes 3, sometimes 5. And I was doing all right for myself. And then club cricket, I was batting 4 or 5 for my club team. I was in the top 5 for club team. I think my debut for the second team, I batted 4 for club. So, and then coming to England, started off at 7 first half of the season, and then moved up to 3 to finish off the season.
And you're batting at 3 now?
Yeah, batting at 3 now, sometimes 5.
Okay. So you're very unusual compared to our previous guest on this series, because Peter Hatzoglu was completely the opposite. He was a seamer who went into spin, wasn't he, Hugh? And we've heard that story far more, where seamers aren't going to make it, and they have a coach say to them, go and bowl some spin, and it works for them. To go the other way from spin to seam at that age, I don't think I've ever heard anyone do that. Have you, Hugh?
Not really, no. But I assume you've grown to a fair old height. Did your sort of growth sort of help trigger that as well?
I had a growth spurt in my 2016, 2017, 2018. Yeah. In that year and a half, I grew about 30 centimeters because I was really short.
Wow.
And
so in that year and a half, did you go from being shorter than your father to quite a lot taller then all of a sudden?
Yeah.
That's a shock in the family, isn't it?
And it resulted in me getting a stress fracture while playing.
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
S19 in my debut series. With me only making my S19 debut about a year or a couple months after I started bowling, my bowling technique and my alignment and everything was not great, because it wasn't something that I did. And I had grown quite a bit, so my spine and all that stuff was a bit tender with some soft cracks in between, the disc and everything. So I managed to fracture my L4 and L5, my spine, and was told I was ruled off for 10 months. My 10 months I only spent about 2 months off, and then I was back at it again.
Wow. So now I've got to ask the question, that back now is solid again and it's working perfectly well.
Yeah, it's working perfect. Obviously, there's days where it will be stiff and stuff, but I mean, that's
fast bowling.
Yeah, it's part of the job.
Definitely. How do you find the pitches to bowl on down in Kent compared to what you were used to back home? Because a little bit softer, shall we say?
Very slow.
Very slow. And that's in Kent, which we would probably say, Hugh, when you look at over the years, is one of the harder parts of the country, isn't it? One of the quicker.
One of the driest parts.
Yeah, so you say very slow. I'm trying to think of a way to put an analogy to this. Do you feel more like you're a quick seamer rather than a fast bowler in Kent, whereas back home you're hitting the deck and you're a hard bowler?
The wickets have been so slow, it almost feels like you're a medium pacer.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the Duke swinging and nipping about, it'd probably be very easy for guys to score runs. But there are some venues that are a lot quicker, more bounce, and you do get to reap the rewards when there's good carry, and it does make you feel good. Some surfaces don't really bounce. They're a lot slower. So it's almost as if you're trying to save energy and just focus on skill instead of pace and speed. And then some decks, you try bowl as quickly as you can. Rewards.
Do you find that you're therefore trying things a lot more than you would do on a hard deck? You're using your skills to try that slower ball, or to change which way it's going to swing.
Most definitely. Like there's days where the ball will swing so much, and obviously to a right hand I shape the ball back in, to a left I shape it away. Where the ball will swing so much on a weekend where you're gonna try to a right hander ball around the wicket, angling the ball across him, trying to get the ball to shape back. So it does give you room to play around with things and ideas, to try and, but number one, learn a new skill and see if you're comfortable with it, and trying to make the batter on the other side make their life a lot harder and unpredictable as possible. Because if I'm shaping the ball back and it's hooping, the guys can just get into the line and play leg side crease. But then if I'm coming around and trying to bowl across you with the odd one that does shape back, if you fall over a touch, there's a gap between bat and pad, getting bowled, you can push at it and nick off if it doesn't swing. So there's a lot of stuff that does work, and it's worked a couple times, and we only use it really if we feel like we need to try something different, which is something you wouldn't necessarily do back in South Africa, because like the decks are enough for you to just keep it traditional, So England is a place where you want to learn and try new things, ask questions, have conversations with the guys who've been here for long, and grow as much as you can, because it's different, it's very different.
So looking at jumping back to the Kent League, I spotted a game coming up this weekend that's quite a big one. Have you picked up on that, Ian? You've got a game this week against Minster, who are currently top.
First versus second.
You're a second at the moment, yeah. What's the planning looking like for that?
Before you answer that, Thando, can I ask another question that's related? Is it a bit of a shock that Minster are up there top? Because they came in the bottom half last year.
No, it just makes the league very interesting, because even last year they had a firepower-packed team.
Right.
And they were probably the few teams that were expected to win it, with having guys like Eddie Moore, Laurie Evans, and all the skill and talent that they have. And we were probably the youngest team in the league.
Okay.
With the least amount of experience in terms of Premier cricket, because the youngest guy in our team is 17, and the oldest guy being Callum McLeod, but the average age in our team is 19, 20, 21, 22. And me being 24, I'm considered one of the older guys in the team. So it keeps the league interesting, where Minster is more guys who are settled and they know their cricket. They've got millions and millions of first-class games that are their belts. And we're a team that has a lot of young guys, and our team changes every week, because some guys work, some guys coach, some guys study, and we found a way last year to win the league by just trying to keep things different and keep things simple. And we just focused on we're not a team that focuses on individual players, because anyone in our team can win your game, and we don't have superstars in our team, but we all have, if we have a day where things work and we all do well, then we can close games off very quickly. And if we're having a bit of a rough patch, we always have someone that will
step up,
take us over the line at some point, so that's the nice thing about Lordswood. And that's why I think we won the league, where some teams, if you can clean up the top 3 or top 5, it's pretty much game, set, match from there.
Definitely.
And with us, we bet up to 11, so they think it's done. But then at number 7 or 8, we have a guy like Ed that's still to walk in, that can take games away from you very quickly.
And do you think last year, you made an interesting comment right at the beginning, which I picked up on. Lordswood was a team that not particularly many people seem to like, I think is the phrase you use, something along those lines. I really rate that. I love that. Probably because I'm from Liverpool, and we have a phrase which is, we're not English, we're Scouse, for people who come from Liverpool. Yeah. Lordswood, by the sounds things, went around with that attitude last year. Do you think it was because of the age of the player group, that group being quite young, maybe?
I think just Lordswood in general, like we try and make people that come to Lordswood uncomfortable, and whether it's from us as players ourselves or from the people that watch at the clubhouse. Lordswood is a lovely place to be at, but if you are the opposition, you're gonna feel and you're gonna know that you are the opposition.
I want to visit Lordswood here.
Sold, yeah.
And for us, as a team and as a club, we're very tight-knit, and we hold ourselves to a certain standard, and we look after each other, and we are not shy of a scrap and a fight to make our guys uncomfortable.
My sort of club, my sort of team,
Yeah,
I'm not going to mouth off. I'm not going to mouth off too much as a wicketkeeper in this against this side.
I was going to say Hugh's a wicketkeeper, so he'd be quite. Well, would you have a go back though, Hugh? You probably would, wouldn't you?
I would have a go back, but I might only be in the first game, and then the second game I might shut up and behave myself.
Exactly. It's a big game this weekend. Then big game. Minster have got a little bit of a gap on you guys right now in that sort of first versus second, but we're only in the 7-8 games into the season by the end of this weekend, so there's a long way to go. But you must be feeling that getting a result's a big thing this weekend against them.
I mean, for us, since last year, every game for us was a big game. There was never a team that we hold on a pedestal more than the others. So we have the same mentality when we play last on the log versus top of the log. And hopefully we have our full strength team this week. That's how we've been playing stronger sides.
Yeah.
And we are playing at Minster, so they also a team that does try make you feel uncomfortable when you're at their home ground. Or when we try to bully you into a corner.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. I mean, it's another game of cricket.
How does that sort of thing flow through from professional cricket? Is professional cricket maybe a nicer environment sometimes, or is it a tougher environment from sort of the how you feel as the opposition?
Professional cricket is just everything is just at a high intensity, really. So automatically you do switch on, because obviously the batters are good, pros, the bowlers are really good, guys are quick, guys are experienced. But obviously being professional cricket, there's a lot of rules and regulations in place because you do get match bans. That do last the season. So like showing dissent or having a go at guys or stuff like that, which sometimes in the league can be brushed under the rug. Whereas in professional cricket, there's a lot of stuff. There's obviously the umpires, the match refs, who are very hands-on in the game. So you have to be very careful about if you're going to chirp guys, sledge, abuse, or just how you are in general, your body language, dissent, how you speak to the umpires. They're very strict on that. So you can say it's a little bit safer in terms of like how guys go about their business, because at the end of the day, it's work for us. It's our 9 to 5. Guys don't want to miss games because they did or said something stupid, because that match ban does stay for about 6 months. And whether you're playing international cricket or you're playing wherever, it carries on. It is safer than club cricket.
Yeah, and obviously you've got with all the franchise tournaments and things like that, lots of players play against each other for different teams, and then they play with each other for different teams. So you've got that sort of, you're essentially playing against your friends at times.
Yeah,
club cricket, that seems to.
It's nothing personal. It's just business.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
Talking of business, you're with us here in the UK to play in the Kent League through this summer, but you've made a decision to go and play in the winter elsewhere as well.
Yeah, in Australia. It was a very tough decision to make, and a lot of people have probably been asking why I made that decision, or just curious. Obviously, being a pro back home, I didn't get a professional contract back home this season, so I had to make a decision to either try to go back to school for the year, which is not happening. And I was just like, you know what, might as well. I have the opportunity to play in a different country. Why not take a leap of faith and go play somewhere else where I can still upskilling myself and growing and continuously playing cricket.
Yeah.
At least when time comes next season and the transfer window opens, it's not like I've been sitting around doing up and nothing for 6 months, where I have been playing in England and in Australia, and I've been playing consistent cricket and upskilling, and when I get back, I'm not rusty, So
definitely.
That was my main decision for going to Australia. I didn't get a contract back home.
Now, we know our friends from CricX place a lot of players around Australia, and there's always a big call to go to Sydney or Melbourne for a lot of players. But we understand that you're going to Brisbane. And I've got to ask, is that because after a summer of British weather, you've got to go somewhere where the weather's actually almost guaranteed to be good, whereas in Melbourne, you're not really sure?
I mean, myself and Steve have had the conversation of where can you play the most amount of cricket without the weather disturbing you, So it's the same thing as me playing down south here, playing for Lordswood, where you're going to play 98% of your matches throughout the whole season without the weather disturbing you. In Australia, that was the same conversation of like, you want to play as much cricket as possible in the best weather, and with the club that I'm at, they are trying to get me involved with the Queensland Bulls. So I can try train with them, try to see if I can get some twos cricket in, and then take it from there. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, I mean that comp's an incredibly strong comp. Marnus Labuschagne's plays in that comp, or had played in that comp, and obviously with feeds into the Big Bash tournaments and things like that. So is the sort of T20 tournaments on your radar? Is that something that you'd like to focus on?
Yeah, so I do want to take part in that T20 Max comp that has happened early on in the season. You never know what could happen if you have a blind over tournament. It could be life-changing.
Yeah.
Well, we spoke to somebody last week who exactly that, wasn't it? Peter Hatzoglu was parachuted into the Melbourne Renegades from that sort of background, Hugh. So it does just show how it can work. You've said about playing some potential twos cricket down in Australia, and it's one of the conversations me and Hugh have a hell of a lot. Have you looked at trying to play any twos cricket over here in the UK while you've been? Have you done any bowling with any of the boys?
Yeah, so I did do quite a few sessions with Kent last season. But obviously with me, with having a South African passport, visa and stuff, it does make it a little bit difficult to be signed in a county as an overseas player if you're not in the first team. Yeah. So it is tough, but I feel like the more I come here and the more consistent I am in being in England, it can be an opportunity to try find and sneak in an opportunity to either play twos cricket or even get a gig in the ones, whatever competition it may be. But I mean, I'm patient, and what will find you will find you. I don't want to necessarily put pressure on myself to make that the final outcome. My goal at the moment is just focus on the present and try and win the league's second year in a row with Lordswood, so, and then everything else kind of takes care of itself, because big teams pick players from teams that win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things you've said there, which really resonates with me, is you want to just play cricket, put yourself in the shop window as such, and upskill all the time. And you've used the word upskill quite a lot, and that, talking to an old fart like me, that is just so reassuring to hear someone of your age just talking constantly about upskilling and trying new things, isn't it?
Yeah, like you never want to just be stagnant, and it's great to be comfortable and you're just doing stuff that that week in, week out, you're going to get the same stuff. But if you're going to put yourself in situations and environments where you're uncomfortable, you're isolated, you got to now fend for yourself and do things differently, you do have to make the conscious effort to grow, because you don't want your expiry date to come sooner rather than later. You know what I mean? So if you keep adding on to your armory in terms of your cricketing skills, and if you're just being a good person off the field, you're upskilling yourself personally, psychologically, mentally, physically. It does filter through into your cricket, and most of all, just enjoying it. You know, when coming to the UK, learned to start enjoying my cricket again. You know, where there's no pressure to a certain extent of like, you have to do well every week, because at the end of the day, if you're enjoying your cricket and you're having fun, you do well without even thinking.
Yeah.
And then
definitely.
when you are tense and trying to be this perfect guy for whatever team you play for, you end up not being able to express yourself efficiently. And even if you are having a rough patch or a rough couple of games, if you can be consistent as a person and as a player to those around you and to those in your team and in your space, actually it works. It works in your favor more times than not, you know, because you're not a different person when you're doing well, and you're not a different person when you're not doing well.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, in research and preparation for this, unfortunately, what we do have to do is become a little bit of a stalker, and we have to look around to see what we can find about people. And I'm going to bring it right down from a cricket basis to you're here in the UK, and I saw a video on your Instagram, Thando, which I think summed up your feelings for coming here. When you come through that airport and you arrived in May, and I'm guessing it's one of your Lordswood colleagues was there waiting for you.
It was Ed.
Now, I'm guessing that from the face he pulled and the laugh that I could hear from you're basically a Lordswood lad now, aren't you? And you've just become one of the guys there. What is it about the UK that, for anybody who's listening around the world, has made you go, I've got to keep going back because of that? Not cricket, though. Something that's not cricket, what makes you keep coming back? Don't just say Ed.
No, personally, it is the family environment at Lordswood. You know, where you spend a lot of time as a professional being alone and being away from your own family.
Yeah.
And when you're here in the winter, you never feel short of that, where you always have people around you and in your corner, which is basically a tight-knit family, which is not something that you're just going to find wherever you are. And it has been the first club that's actually made me feel welcome, where even the people at the club, the people that come and watch, the staff, the guys with families. So I never felt like I was an outsider, and it was just really nice. Where it's just like, you know what, I don't experience this back home in terms of like a support system type thing from a family away from family. Whereas here, they just take you in, you know, and that's something that you can't fake.
Absolutely. That's the best thing about the UK for you. You know, I'm going to ask you the opposite now, don't you? What would you, and you're not allowed to say the weather, what would you change about the UK and living over here?
What would I change? They need to add a bit more seasoning in their food.
I'm not going to disagree in the slightest about that. Not in the slightest.
Coming from South Africa, where everything is marinated, seasoned.
I'm all for that.
Yeah. Are you missing a good bunny chow?
I'm missing a braai, to be fair.
With
a good braai.
And no one at Lordswood can braai properly.
We've had a couple conversations of having a proper South African braai, but I was obviously busy, and you know the week gets out of hand. But there will be a time where we can actually have a wood-fired braai, you know, and not the gas braai. Just have a massive thing with the fire out, and we braai it properly.
I've got to tell you a story, Thando. So a few years ago, one of my colleagues from South Africa came over to the UK, and we had a barbecue because obviously we don't have braais. My mother-in-law doesn't eat meat, but what she does eat is fish fingers. And to see my South African colleague's face when we put these fish fingers in tinfoil on a barbecue to warm up for my 70-odd-year-old mother-in-law, my South African colleague almost disowned me on the spot. He said, what are you doing? No, I just left him to cook everything else. He cooked everything else, but he just said, you lot, you haven't got a clue in the slightest. With my travels over in SA, I do understand exactly where you're coming from there without a shadow. It is a big difference, to say the least. Going to Australia, though, Hugh, you'll be happy.
It's not the same. It's
Isn't it, mate?
Yeah, there's too many fire restrictions. Or too many fire restrictions. Yeah, they've all got the gas. There's not many proper barbies in Australia these days. Maybe in Queensland with a bit more tropical weather. Where I lived, it was all gas. You couldn't have fires very often and things like that.
So are you going home before you get to Australia, Thando?
I'm not sure because I do have a flight booked to go home. I'll probably try and just save that for next year. Just keep that flight and just have that flight voucher. Yeah. And then fly from England straight to Australia because I do want to be part of that T20 Max competition when the
That's great.
Maybe see if I can have a few couple good games there. You never know if you can't land a big bash gig.
Yeah, absolutely. From what my perspective here, and I'm sure you'll back me, Thando speaks remarkably well. We spoke to a couple of young guys recently who just speak remarkably well about the way they want to develop their career. I asked the question, Thando, where do you want to go with this career? Fortunately for you, unfortunately for you, you've got a family background that people will always say this is what your dad did and all this type of stuff. But you're Thando Ntini, and you're setting your own path, aren't you?
I mean, it's something I've been building for the past 19 years. It's a sport that I enjoy, that I love. There's nothing else that makes me wake up in the morning every day
brilliant
being to do. It just makes it's a dream. There's a lot of people that will go about their whole lives trying to find and do something that they absolutely enjoy and never find it.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to be given the blessing of being good at what I do and knowing it from a very young age that that's what I want to do. It hasn't been a smooth roller coaster, but I mean, it's character development and it just makes it a lot more interesting than everything just falling from the sky and being handed to me. So I enjoy the people I meet along the journey, the traveling, you seeing new things, you're traveling the world, and it's your passion. You wake up every day knowing that no one can take it away from you besides yourself, and it doesn't just disappear, and you are essentially your own boss. How you go about your life and how you go about your work, you determine your price point at whatever point. You determine where you want to be, where you want to go, who you want to play for. You make those key decisions and you are the only person that can steer your career forward and no one else can do it and take it away from you. You are the product. The system is the shop and the team you are is the shelf. You are the product that people want to use and watch and, and experience. If you can just keep your expiry date from being far along the timeline, then you're fine and just staying relevant, and just staying in the front row, you are allowed to have a rough season and you do fall a row or two behind in the pecking order.
Yeah.
You always have the opportunity to be at the front. And the craziest part is it's not like working a 9-to-5 job where you have to work years and years and years for someone to recognize you and see your potential. In this game, it only takes one game with the right person and the right people watching you and your life changed forever. So if you can just keep searching for that one day and just making that your goal and taking every day one day at a time and focusing on today and doing as best as you can. And there's something my best mates always tells me when it comes to cricket and life is just like, just keep beating the day. That's all you need to do. Just beat the day. Don't put unnecessary pressure on yourself. And always remember, you doing what you do and having the opportunities and the experiences that you have is a blessing that a lot of people in the world will give their life for. Just make sure you enjoy every moment.
Yeah.
And just have fun with it, because we are the 1% in the world that does what they love. That is my why, and why I do this, and why I wake up every day to try and be the person that I am, and why the hard days are, I take very personal, because there's a lot of pride and there's a lot of care in me trying to do well for me and for my team. And I mean, if someone said, if you don't care and you don't have butterflies when you at training or when you step across the boundary road, then you most probably should retire, because it's done.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you won't mind me saying this. And I watched a few things this morning and in preparation. You're a completely different character to your father. However, you have just said something in there that just sums up you and your father in one sentence. You've got to enjoy it. You've got to enjoy it. And it doesn't matter, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. If you're not enjoying it, you're not making it for yourself, are you?
Waste of time.
And you've got to get out there and enjoy it. And Hugh and I would both say that, doing this podcast for us is an absolute joy to talk. I hate to say it, just talk bloody cricket. Just talk cricket to people who love it just as much as we do. That's what it's all about. It's phenomenal, that, isn't it, Hugh?
Fantastic, yeah. It's a great lesson for everybody, and a great lesson for young lads coming through as well. Just to keep focusing on the day, not too much pressure, and just enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a number of young guys who we've been in touch with over the past 6 months, in particular. Some England under-19 sort of level guys who we've spoken to. I think you could almost take what you've just said as a snapshot and just give it to them and say, just do that. Just do that. That's all it takes to be, doesn't it, Hugh?
Yep, absolutely.
Definitely.
You only got 24 hours in the day. I mean, you can't plan tomorrow because you never know what's coming. But if you can focus on every hour and every moment and just trying to enjoy the now and not the later and the past, you'll be okay.
Definitely. Hey, we're coming towards the end of our recording, Thando, but before I finish, I've got to give you a chance to just say a few thank yous, hellos, shout-outs, whatever you want to call it, to the lads at Lordswood who've made you part of the family. Who would you say down there has been your key brothers?
Everyone has had a input, has had a role to play. Jackie and Ed, guys like Nathan at Lordswood have made my past 2 years a breeze. Jackie has taken me in as one of her sons. She's absolutely looked after me as a mom away from home. Ed has just been there as like a brother, where he doesn't leave me out of literally anything, checks up, and vice versa, So, and Nathan, who gave me his house to stay in last year, and just set me up and allowed me to find my feet, So he's had a role to play in me coming back to Lordswood, and everyone at the club and all the players in the first team, second team, third team that watch, support, show love week in, week out, when we're doing well, when we're doing badly, and guys are just there for you every single day. It does help. It goes a long way, and it is why I have decided from last year already that I will want to sign a long-term contract with Lordswood, which is what I've done. So I'm at Lordswood for the next 4 years.
Wow.
I'm not going anywhere. That's my place to be. And
brilliant.
It's home.
Hey, got to ask unfortunately, this is club cricket we're talking about, though. So you've just been very nice about those guys at Lordswood, and Hugh knows what's coming next. There must be someone in that changing room who's an absolute pain in the backside and irritates the hell out of everyone, though. Who's that?
Not really. I mean, everyone.
Oh, no, come on, Thando. Every changing room's got one.
I would probably say, not in a bad way, but everyone just likes to crack jokes and make fun of each other and abuse each other, In the Lordswood changing room, you can't be soft. You have to have your thick skin, and you can't be too sensitive. Everyone gives it, and everyone takes it. So it's a fair shout to everyone where we can piss each other off on a daily basis. So there's no one that just stands out. Everyone has their days, but yeah. I can be really annoying at times.
Well, we'll leave it at that. And I'm not going to make this podcast called "I Can Be Really Annoying at Times," but there's lots of things that you've said that can definitely be really good podcast titles for this episode. Thando, it's been an absolute privilege to speak with you, sir. And it's been just an absolute pleasure to listen to your thoughts on cricket and your thoughts on your career and where it's going. And I'm just thrilled to hear that you're going to be here for a few more years and to be able to follow someone's journey as an overseas coming over here into the UK, Hugh. That's phenomenal, isn't it?
The Kent openers are not going to be as happy about that, though, are they?
No. But we, on one of my trips down south, I know exactly where I'm going to be ended up now because Lordswood's going to be the one. I want to see that welcome that they give their opposition without a shadow. Definitely.
Well, I've got a lot of family in Chatham area, so my wife's family is all from that area, so I've got accommodation sorted as well. So.
Lovely.
Hey, Thando, many thanks for your time, mate. Been an absolute privilege. Look forward to catching up with you again soon. If we don't speak to you beforehand, enjoy Brisbane.
Thank you so much, guys.
All the best, mate.
Thanks, John.
Cheers.
Cheers now. Thanks for listening to the Premier League Cricket Show. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes and stay updated on all the latest news, views and discussions from around the Cricket's Premier Leagues. And be sure to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram at TPL Cricket Show on both. Join the conversation, share your thoughts and connect with us and your fellow Premier League cricket fans. And hey, if you enjoyed the show, why not show us some love? Leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast platform as it helps other potential listeners to find us when they're searching for cricketing podcasts. Thanks again for being part of the Premier League Cricket Show family, and until next time, have a good one.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.